Can you explain the LLC setup process step by step? Sure. We've set up over 4,500 LLCs for people to manage their digital assets. Again, if you want to work with us to do it, if you use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAGLLC at digitalfamilyoffice.io, we do it for $2,000. But if you wanted to do it yourself, you can. You would go to the state of Wyoming, you would file with them, you would get a registered agent, you would file with them, you would go to the federal government's EIN website, you would file with them. Once that's done and approved, you would go get your certificate of good standing from the state of Wyoming using your articles of organization that you received from the state. After you filed it with them, they're going to give you a number that you're able to look up the registry with in order to get your certificate of good standing. Once you have all those documents, you would work with an attorney to draft an operating agreement with special provisions for the digital assets to make sure that you are operating compliantly and you have thought through all of the considerations to be able to manage digital assets in your holding company. So get the operating agreement. When you move the assets in there, some people are going to tell you that you need to go set up a bank account and buy a cold wallet and transfer your stuff over. I think that's a bunch of extra steps that you don't need to do. I would rather use the assets as the capital contribution to start the business. This needs to be a single member entity, or again, if you're in a state where a qualified joint venture works, you can also do a family limited partnership. It's a lot more complicated, probably going to cost you a bit more on the operating agreement on that one for you and your family. And you're going to have some other considerations about, when people die or partners want to leave or different things happen. When you move the assets into the corporation, you're going to just list them on the capital contributions page on the operating agreement. That's going to be the wallet address, the asset that you're moving in there, the amount of the asset. So, however many decimal places of the asset that you have, and then the dollar amount on the day of transfer. You get that page notarized. You can list as many assets as you want, as long as you have a separate wallet for each one. And you're basically gifting your cold wallet into the company to be able to trade that for the equity. So now the assets are in the corporation. You own the equity. They are a member managed LLC most of the time, where you are the member and you are the manager and you're managing and have control of the assets in the company. Once you have that done, you're going to want to maintain the corporate veil. So you're going to want to have meeting minutes. You're going to want to do the accounting and make sure that you have a separation of personal assets and business assets. You don't want to commingle funds. Any board resolutions, need to be drafted. Any changes to the corporation are going to have to be drafted for the board resolution. If you need to make any changes, in how you're going to run the business, those would be amendments to the operating agreement. Hopefully that explains it to you end to end.